welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to introduce you to a new car and a new project that you've probably already seen in the background of some of my prior videos. But first of all, a shout out to my buddy Tim, who had this custom made Legend shirt made up. This is a representation of his Legend coupe that says, "No one is perfect unless you drive this, then you're pretty close." So I got to hand it to Tim. He's absolutely on point with that comment. Let's get into it though. Today we're going to look at a 2002 Acura RSX Type S. It looks something like this, or I guess I should say it doesn't yet look something like this, but it will. So the newest project car has rolled into the garage and it's going to be a fun one. Now, in order to properly introduce you to this RSX, I have to first introduce you to my lovely neighbor Susan. So introducing Susan to the channel. She's an amazing gal that lives not too far from me, and Susan's actually celebrating a birthday next month. She'll be 75 years old, and she's a total sweetheart. But like many of my neighbors, she knew as of many years ago that I am a bit of an Acura fanatic, and I actually saw her for the first time pull into the post office in this RSX several years ago, and I made a comment about it, and it kind of stuck with her. And so ever since then, every time she's driven past my house and she sees me outside, she's honked and waved at me. So fast forward to the day before Thanksgiving 2022, I left a little handwritten note on a post-it note along with a 2002 Acura RSX brochure, left them on the windshield of her car that morning, and by that afternoon she sent me a text and said, "You read my mind, I'm actually thinking about looking at newer used cars." And so one thing led to another, and I ended up buying the car from her a couple weeks later. But a little bit of backstory on the car itself. So it is the first model year for the RSX, and it's the higher horsepower Type S variant. So in 2002, you could get the base model with a 160 horsepower inline four, or you could get a 200 horsepower Type S with a 6-speed manual transmission. So Susan, even being sort of, I guess she would have been in her mid-50s by then, Susan bought this car brand new on January, I wrote it down here, January 21st, 2002, she bought this RSX brand spanking new off the showroom floor at Scottsdale Acura here in Arizona. It had 12 miles on it, and it looks like she paid $24,158 and later added the factory spoiler to it. But over the last 20 years, she has loved this car, she's enjoyed it, and it has served her well for about 124,000 miles. However, she was getting ready to think about something that's an automatic, finally, as well as something with a little more approachable step-in ride height. So she ended up going with a pre-owned 2020 Kia Soul. All that being said, she wanted the RSX to go to a good home, and so she and I had a conversation about potentially letting me acquire it and restore it, and here we are today. So this car, as you'll see in some of the videos that are accompanying this video, needs a little bit of love, but the good news is mechanically it is solid as can be. The car has a few creaks and groans and power steering noises consistent with age, but the interior is awesome. It's got its original K20 motor that's revs, just as it should. And really the car primarily just needs cosmetics, and so that's right up my alley. You've seen prior other restoration projects I've done on the channel, so this RSX is a perfect candidate for a upcoming restoration series. I'm not going to get into a ton of backstory on this car because this video serves more as an introduction, but you all know that I love multiple projects, so I have the TSX in for paint. Figure I might as well get started on the RSX as a multitasking exercise here. So this is a really fun letter that Susan had with the car, dated February 13th. This was the month after she bought her RSX, and congratulates her from this service manager at the dealership. No longer resides at that location, but a cool piece of memorabilia that accompanied the car. I did have a window sticker made up to go with the car. She didn't have this document, but I was able to have my friend Jason replicate one, as he's done for many of my cars, so thanks again, Jason. We got all the feature content right in line here with what it needed to be. And this car truly has never really departed Arizona. It's been here tried and true for its 21-year lifespan. Now this stuff is really cool. I love the literature hunt, so I tracked down a bunch of magazines off eBay. this was kind of a big deal when it came out. Obviously the Integra was retired and the RSX took its place, at least in terms of being a 3-door hatchback. There was no 4-door variant, of course, for the RSX, but the car was really well loved and got a ton of accolades. So like this one, remember the Integra GSR? Well, you can forget about it. That's how good this car was when it came out. Cleaner, meaner, faster. The list goes on. And I remember when this car came out, I was 20 years old or something, and it was kind of the hot hatch that everybody wanted, you know, at that time. And now the struggle is a lot of these cars have had very rough lives and they're just not out there anymore. I remember, some of you will also remember a few years ago on the channel when I helped Acura source a blaze orange metallic 2006 model, I think 05 or 06. They used it when the Type S name came back, and that car was a needle in a haystack. I ended up finding it through an online website in Florida and had it shipped cross country for their purposes in Los Angeles. But it was a really good sort of lesson or eye-opener on how tough these cars are getting to find in good original condition. So this one I have really high hopes for. Obviously it's not in primo condition, but that's part of the challenge for me that I enjoy. So I'm going to take this kind of battered and bruised RSX and I will make it something that's worthy of sitting inside a showroom once more. So I'm going to let you come along with me for the ride. Picking up the RSX from Susan. She's had it for 21 years and it's going to a good home. So let's do a quick picture here and call it a day. Signing off from Phoenix. Thank you, Susan, for trusting me with your RSX. Just for kicks, we're going to play around with the RSX tonight. Now there's definitely a power steering issue here. Yeah, I'll check the fluid level on that in a second, but right now I'm more concerned with whether this Bose audio system works. Now this RSX was kind of unique in the sense that the engineers put the Bose subwoofer inside the spare tire, I believe. So we'll check that out later, but I'm gonna do some 1994 hits. Come on. Let's see. How do I, oh, load. I guess I have to hit load first. Let's see how we did. Oh yeah, all right. We are rocking and rolling. Ooh, I love these red gauges. Let's do the traditional first fuel up. That's kind of clever, look at that. Has a little carrying thing. It's a little different layout than some of the other Honda cars I've seen. Well, the power steering fluid looks kind of gross, but it's pretty full, so I don't know that that's going to be the issue. This whole engine bay really is in desperate need of some cleanup. That will all come in due time. It does track straight and nice, and goes through all 6 gears pretty flawlessly, so that's a win. So I know from the Carfax history, this car spent quite a bit of time here at Acura North Scottsdale. Just for the heck of it, I'm going to check and see if they can give me any kind of records or documentation from its lifetime. I did get a hold of some records in case Susan can't find them in her archives, and I will get started on loading these into my spreadsheet later today. We're having a little RSX powwow here. Jax is a little bit newer, but we are twinners and the twins. So here you can clearly see some of the differences between the early model and then the refresh. The grille, the headlights, the lower bumper. Obviously the back end has its fair share of changes as well, but a couple cool cars. Quick look at the underbody on the RSX. My first time getting a peek at this one. We are all set here, gonna head home, and I got some feedback on the car, both good and bad in terms of kind of what it's gonna need to bring back to life, but for right now, it'll get me down the road. Got a replacement taillight here because the existing one is pretty battered. So one piece at a time. I found a very old picture. This is around 2005 when my friend Corey, who I worked with, had an RSX. His was nicely decked out with the body kit and some custom wheels. But little did I know that many, many years later, like 18 years later, I ended up getting an RSX. Dropped for some maintenance here. It's filthy. We've had some overnight rains the last couple weeks, and we're kind of going to start from the beginning with this and just initiate things with an overall inspection. But long list of to-dos, and you can see the coupe I'm picking up back there today. So we'll see how it goes.